people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt.
Wow, that's so
But
deep.
think about it, right?
It is, yeah.
It's not about how much you know. That's just one part of it. But once you really show and demonstrate you care about others, then they can actually follow what you want, and work as a team.
That's amazing.
This is Challenger Brands, helping you build better brands and businesses. Hosted by Illustrado, the brand development and creative agency for ambitious and audacious challenger brands.
And welcome to another episode of Challenger Brands, where we talk about branding, marketing, sales, entrepreneurship, and everything else to help you build a better brand and business. I'm Lelaine Chu Benitez here, and every episode we talk to industry experts to give you insights on how you can make your business better. Today is a very special day because we have the great Bijay Shah. Bijay Shah, welcome to the show.
It's an honor and a privilege, Lelaine. Thank you for having me.
We're so amazed to have you here. Audience, Bijay is renowned as the father of Business Network International in the UAE. I don't know if you want to claim that title, Bijay, but that's what people call you.
Yeah, I guess people call me that. No, I'm certainly not a father, but, with 18 years of experience under my belt in this industry, yes, I do have a lot of things to share, and I'd love to do that.
Definitely. I mean, just to give our audience and our listeners a bit of context. So BNI, or Business Network International, is the largest and most successful networking group in the whole wide world. And here in the UAE, we are represented by Bijay Shah here. He's the head and the master franchisee in the United Arab Emirates for BNI, which has over 1,000 members now. 15 years in the running, right, Bijay?
Yeah, in fact, this is our 18th year.
18th year.
We launched in 2005. And just yesterday, we crossed the 1,000 member mark.
Amazing.
Which, obviously is a very incredible and special milestone.
Amazing. And 2.5 billion
2.5 billion dirhams
in business referrals generated for the members.
Over, I would say, the last count I was looking at last week, 350,000 referrals over the last 18 years.
Wow.
Generating that amount of business.
That is staggering.
Members. It is.
And this is voluntary.
Of course, absolutely.
That's amazing.
It comes down to the whole philosophy that we have, which we're going to talk about today.
Right. I mean, sometimes when people talk about helping each other, it's hard to peg a quantitative KPI there, right? But BNI here, the numbers speak for itself, right? I mean, how many organizations can say that they're churning out 2.5 billion dirhams in business for the members just by helping each other?
It's larger than some of the small countries out there, right? If you look at their economic output.
Exactly. I think, BJ, to get us started, please share with us a little bit about, BNI. Give us some background information for those people who are not yet familiar.
Sure. Like you explained, BNI stands for Business Network International. It is the largest and most successful, what we call not just a business network, but more specifically, a referral network of its kind. It's primarily face-to-face. And the organization was founded by Dr. Ivan Meisner. He's our founder. And he had a need, 38 years ago. It wasn't like he woke up one morning and came with a vision that, right, I'm going to create this global organization. For him, it was simple. He had he was a consultant. He had a few clients. He had just taken out a mortgage. He had a family, and unfortunately, one of his large clients went under. So what that meant for him is, about 50% of his business was impacted. And he was like, right, I've just taken out this mortgage, and what am I going to do? How am I going to feed my family? So being a consultant, most of his business came from referrals. So he came up with an idea, and, he said, look, I'm sure, just like me, many other people get their business from referrals. He had a group of people he would hang out with, and he invited them. There would be lawyers and accountants, and he asked them. He said, "Where do you guys get your business from?" And they all said, "Yeah, referrals." He said, "But we all meet, we hang out, but we never talk business. Wouldn't it be cool if we got to know a little bit about each other, and if we could refer business to each other. And they said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So they got together. He prepared a little, agenda, put some structure around it, and it seemed to work. And he said, okay, maybe we need to start meeting on a regular basis. And they figured that a good rhythm to keep is let's meet weekly. They'd say, like, let's meet every other week. So they tried all of that, and they found that weekly meeting is good. So keeping it consistent. Let's limit it to just one person in a particular category. So if you already have an accountant, then we're not going to take anybody else. So we can all be open and have that exclusivity. And simply put, we kind of act as each other's extended sales force. Now, for it to happen well, you got to have a trusted relationship. So let's get to know each other. Let's get to know each other. And then all of us, as we go about our day-to-day work, if we meet somebody who has a need, which can be done by one of us, we'll just refer them. What do we get in return? Nothing as such in terms of commissions. But if we do it for each other, then if you look at the bigger picture, all of us will benefit. So that's how we started with.
Yeah.
And, the idea took on because word spreads. Somebody says, I'm part of this group. It seems to be generating some amazing referrals for me. And they say, well, can I be part of it? And they'll come along, they'll see the whole thing and say, okay. And then some can't join because they already have, their competitor or somebody who does what they do. But obviously, there's a lot of business out there. And they would come up to Dr. Miser and say, can you help us put up a group like this? We just love this structure. And by the end of his first year, he had 20 groups. And he was just helping them voluntarily.
Wow.
He had a consulting business. The idea took on, and for the first 10 years, with that, organically, it started growing across the whole country in the US. And then in 1995, somebody was visiting from Canada, one of these meetings, a friend had invited them, and they saw the concept and they said, wow, we need to take this back to Canada. So, the word got to Dr. Miser and he said, okay, sounds good. And then the idea of franchising it came because now, it was a concept, there was a structure, it was proven. The brother, so this guy in Canada, he said, I have a brother in the UK. I need to also introduce it to him because I'm sure he would be interested in doing this.
It's spreading like wildfire now.
Cutting a long story short, 38 years later, we now have it in 77 countries.
Wow.
It is a franchise model.
Amazing.
And it's fantastic.
I love the fact that, and full disclosure to our audience and our listeners, I am a member of BNI Evergreen, super happy member for the last year, celebrated my, first year anniversary with the Evergreen, in June. I love the fact that this is prefaced on the idea of helping and doing good for others. And there's no hidden agenda. The premise is simple. You help other people, givers gain, right? We'll talk about that in depth later on. I really love that. And I saw an example of how this organization really moves on its own organically. So I attended a Connectors launch, BNI Connectors launch. Connectors is based in DIP. 150 people for a new chapter. Everybody was pumped to help each other do business. And the team of Connectors, they already had some results even before the chapter formally began.
Yeah.
This is an amazing business model, BJ. How did you even, what made you think that you should be taking this into the UAE? I get so excited because to me, this is a marketer's dream. To have a business that moves by itself, to have a community that builds the business for you, I think you cannot ask for anything like that.
You're absolutely right. But
and this is not something that money can buy,
no,
right?
it's not. I think, firstly, both my wife and I, we consider ourselves very lucky and blessed. We probably just happened to be at the right time, in the right place. But if you look at it, you mentioned givers gain. Human beings. If you look at human beings out there, so let's take business aside. As human beings, I think the way we're wired is to help each other. That makes us who we are. When trouble strikes, when some people are in need, yes, we all understand there are a lot of problems out there, and we understand that. But if you really look at it, and the true test of this comes when disasters struck. Globally we've seen sometimes they're natural disasters. Of course, very recently we have this global pandemic. We all have our differences. Of course, there's politics, there's religion, and everything else. But when people come through challenges, human beings come together. They do. We've seen that over and over again. In business, what it is, unfortunately, it is a capitalist thing. It's competition, right? It is a survival of the fittest and all that sort of stuff. And what we've done is we've brought in the humanness into business, where if you think of it, and I think the generation today, if I look at my son, he's 16, the way they interact with their peers, I don't think the C word is anything, it's competition anymore. It's more about collaboration.
It is.
They care about each other. And imagine if everybody did that. So this is an idea more on collaboration as opposed to competing. It's about having that mindset of abundance. And, our tagline is changing the way the world does business.
Yeah. I love the way that it's aspirational, but it's also very practical. It is a practical application. It is a system that works. It speaks to one of my, most favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar that, you can only be successful if you help so many people, right?
And there's joy in giving, and it's
exactly.
rewarding.
It's going to go back to you.
Oh, absolutely. But, you do it with that intention, not that I'll get something out of this. You just do it the pure joy and good of it. And when you do that, it does come back.
Definitely. I'm a proof of that. I'm proof of that. And I'll tell you how it changed my views on sales also. But let me ask you first, why did you bring it to the UAE? Obviously, it's a great idea, but how did you get into it?
So it's a very similar
BJ?
story to what I shared with Dr. Ivan Meisner. So we're going back 18 years. We launched this 18 years ago here. My wife and I found ourselves in a similar situation. We were new in Dubai. We didn't know anybody. We had not even moved here yet. We were looking at moving here, and I had, again, just blessed that I'd come across this organization back in the UK. So I knew how it works and what it does. But I didn't really understand at that time the breadth and scale of it. I just thought it's a local community service sort of organization, help each other. It just so happened we found ourselves, I got into conversation with somebody, BNI came up again, and I said, right, I don't know anybody, BNI can be a great thing. There doesn't appear to be any BNI here. It'd be great if I could do this on a part-time basis. I was not looking at it from a business perspective, but again, community service. I've been brought up with those values to help others. We said, let's take this up. We'll get a couple of groups, and we'll have about 50 people, and that's it. So there was no big vision. I never imagined that 18 years later, there'll be a community of over 1,000 people.
1,000 people.
So the joy at that point was, if we could help, 50 people, and if we could have our network, because we didn't know anybody, that's it. And then as we started the journey, as the members, they had to take faith in what we were doing. They started experiencing what it can do. And as I started engaging and listening to those stories, I was like, wow. So that feeling, that rewarding feeling. So as a financial planner, what I did in those days was help people prepare the financial future, which is also very rewarding. This was rewarding because you're helping people in so many different fronts. Yes, it is business referrals, but as a result of that, so there are so many other intangible benefits.
That's true.
Members come, we are not Toastmasters, we don't train people on how to speak. And yet, becoming a member with that experience, they become good speakers, good presenters.
Definitely.
So I think within a few months, Anuradha, we call her Anna, my wife and I, we said, you know what, this is good, this is fun, this is what gets us up in the morning.
Definitely.
To want to do this.
At 6:30 in the morning, no less.
Yeah, our meetings are early in the morning.
Brutal.
They are in the morning, and until then, Lelaine, I had never woken up so early to do anything. Even
can
in
imagine.
the work that I was comfortable.
Yeah.
But now this was something that we did, and now automatically, whether it's a weekday or a weekend, your body clock wakes up. But yeah, answering your question, again, I never had a vision. it just felt a good thing to do. And here we are 18 years later. Now this has become our full-time vocation. And it's a lot of joy.
Let me just frame this properly for our audience and our listeners, because they probably will not be able to grasp this until they understand how this system works.
Yeah.
Because when you say 1,000 people, in the grand scheme of things, especially on social media where people have millions of followers, 1,000 seems so small,
it's a
right?
drop, yeah.
But when you think about it, this is 1,000 entrepreneurs committed to each other, helping each other up every week, accountable for making sure that everybody in the team gets ahead. So this is not a small task. It's not like they're just watching something on social media. No, they turn up for each other every week. They're responsible for making sure that everybody moves and everybody gets their business done. So it's an amazing thing.
So yeah, when you put it that way, think about it. A community of active 1,000 members who are meeting every week. So every single week, 1,000 members. Now, they all meet in different groups. But the fact that 1,000 people turn up to an event with the intention of building a relationship, helping each other, and that happens through the whole year. Yeah, that's incredible.
That's very, very notable. We'll
that's just here.
Yeah.
310,000 members globally. So this is happening.
That's amazing.
With 1,000 members here, but if you look at the whole world, every single week, over 300,000 members doing this.
That's a lot of committed people out there.
It is.
We'll take a break right now, and we would just like to thank our sponsors, Rove Hotels, for always supporting us, especially for this podcast.
This is Challenger Brands. Please subscribe to our channel and share our content. Follow us on our agency's social media pages, Illustrado.co, on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, or subscribe to our newsletter via our website, www.illustrado.co. Thank you to our sponsors for today's episode. Rove Hotels. Rove Hotels are a jumping-off point for city explorers, simply designed for the young and young at heart. Born in Dubai, Rove is an award-winning lifestyle brand offering well-designed hotels, fuss-free service, and great value in well-connected locations. More than just a bed for the night, Rove provides rovers, the missing link to connect you to the city like a local, and explore the track less trodden in a relaxed environment where you can be yourself. With sustainability, local art, and high-performing functionality at the heart of its brand, Rove represents a new niche of hospitality for the digital nomad looking to become part of the neighborhood, even when they're just passing through. Please check them out at rovehotels.com.
Bijay, let's go back to the main principle of BNI, giver's gain. I mean, a lot of people hear this a lot, but perhaps you can give even more color or even more substance to what this means for members. What is giver gain exactly?
So, like I explained, that human nature to help each other. So we've kind of put that in a business sense that, look, you can help each other in so many different ways. In fact, I would say this is not limited to BNI. If you want to be a good networker, and I think networking is a skill that everybody should have, it starts by having a mindset of helping others and giving. Now, in BNI, when members come in, once they understand this, they tend to relate it primarily to referrals. They say, look, if I can help other people, if I can refer business to others, then I'll get referrals in return. That's just the first step. There's so much more than that. If you've been to any of our meetings, of course, you're a member. If anybody visits any of our BNI meetings, each of these meetings are run by members themselves. There's a leadership team. All of this takes time. And it's all voluntary. So why would somebody do that? Again, giver's gain kicks in here because they got to give their time. Of course, what do they get in return? They get personal development and leadership development. But it is giver's gain happening because they see the value of how this can help. When it comes to inviting visitors, again, it's not with the intention of I need to score points or I need to...
Exactly.
It's with the intention of how can I help others? So when you're inviting somebody, you're saying, hey, I want to help you in your business. I'm part of something which is helping me in my business. how about you come along and check it out? And if it helps you, great. So that's givers gain in action. And then, you talked about the scale of this, right? Yesterday was a classic example. How do you get so many people? I hadn't done anything. There's a whole team behind. So we have what we call direct consultants and ambassadors. These are, again, volunteers who have served in leadership, who've got BNI experience, and they say, this is great. I want to launch a chapter and help others. And then when a chapter is running, they need guidance and mentoring. I want to do that for others. And all of this takes time. So Givers Gain is more than just giving referrals. It's giving your time, giving your expertise, giving your, experience and wisdom, and giving your leadership. And
Definitely.
when everybody does this as a team, that's really what it is.
I have seen how BNI changed my life personally as a professional. Edwin Duria,
Yes.
who
He's
is one of our
superstar.
directors,
Absolutely.
has been talking to me about BNI for the last 2 years. And I think I had the same misconception as many people have with BNI. They think that it's all about hard selling. But when I joined the team, after 2 years of being chased by Edwin, right? Edwin trying to help me, expand our activities as a brand consultancy agency, I realized that it's not about hard sell. It's now, flipping that and telling people, how can I help you?
It's the total opposite.
It's a total opposite.
Yeah. So look, I shared my story. My previous life was financial advisory. That probably requires a bit of sales. I've done my share of door knocking and cold calling. I don't enjoy it at all. And anybody who values referrals, referrals are when somebody others is endorsing you. And the people who join BNI are the people who hate sales.
Exactly.
So these are people who want to help others. And I kind of have a feeling why that might be happening from a perception where people perceive this. And I think, unfortunately, the way it is, our members sometimes might be making a mistake. They're so excited to be part of this and they want to invite everybody to it. And sometimes they can come across as a bit forceful, saying, you must come along to this. Not realizing that the way you need to get people to see this is if you genuinely want to help them. But it's done with an intention of wanting to help others and other people, referring you.
I think truly there is a misconception. I mean, and it's not only with BNI. When you say that it's a networking event, you feel like you've got 100 people trying to sell to each other.
Yeah.
And that's the general misconception about networking.
Yeah. But there's this concept of multi-level marketing.
Exactly.
And, people confuse that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
it's not really that conversation. It's, hi, I'm this, that's my business. Now, how can I help you today? Right.
And the other thing, and if there are any BNI members, watching and listening to this, the message I would have for them specifically is when you're referring somebody in your network, do it with authenticity because you trust that person and you genuinely want to help that person. Unfortunately, also what happens is sometimes members tend to get into that to sort of score points because somehow they feel there is some sort of pressure. Yes, accountability is there. If everybody did it, then it helps. So I think it's those elements which unfortunately come across in the wrong way. But yeah, if you look at the true essence of it, it is helping each other. And I think if you really look at most BNI members who've been around for long, they'll tell you it is absolutely not sales at all.
It's about how many people you can help.
Yeah,
that defines the kind of business that you will get out of it.
As simple as that. Absolutely. It becomes a way of life then.
Definitely. In fact, even for us as an agency, we've changed the way we approach clients because now when we have discovery calls, it's not about selling packages or anything. It's about what can we do for you? What's your situation? We will identify your pain points.
Exactly.
It totally shifted the way we view how sales is done.
Absolutely.
It's about helping people.
Yeah.
It's about being of service.
Yes.
Now, how do we balance? We understand givers gain now. How do we balance givers gain and then being able to get business? Should we be asking for referrals, BJ? Is that something that we should be asking for?
So the way it works, if you look at it from a networking perspective, so there are lots of other networking opportunities members get. There are events for networking. And if you went to any of those events and you met people, and then, you say, hey, listen, by the way, can you please refer this to me, or can you introduce? If you don't have a relationship in place, and the chances are when you're going to these events, you're meeting people for the first time, or you don't really have a strong relationship. So people mistake that as, it's actually called calling in person, really speaking. So the answer to your question, should we be doing that in those settings? No. In a BNI setting, it's the other way around. Everybody knows why we're there. Everybody has those expectations. Everybody wants to help. If I was in a BNI meeting, if I was part of your chapter, I would want you to tell me, hey, BJ, this is what I'm looking for. If you make it known, then people can help you. You need to help your fellow members to help you. And the best way you can do that is actually tell them, hey, this is what I'm looking for. If you don't ask, you don't get.
I like that.
But that can only be done in a BNI setting because everybody knows why we share the same values.
Exactly.
So you got to be careful where you do it and how you do it.
It's actually one very positive family, right? I mean, you go there and people are really eager to help. So like you said, if you're not going to ask, you're not going to get it.
But it starts by building social capital. You got to have, you can't take it for granted. You can't just say, okay, I'm a member now. I'm going to go every week and I'm going to just start asking. You got to do your bit in making your social capital deposits. And then once people are confident, once you kind of, got the trust and people can see that you're here authentically to really see how you can help others, they'll be more than happy to help. It reminds me of this program called 24. I don't know if, you heard of it.
Of course, yeah, 24, Kiefer Sutherland.
So if you look at Jack Barr in there, and if you look at any one of those series and you count how many times he asks people for help. He's always on the move. There's always action, something or other happening. And he's on the phone and then he'll say, hey, can you help me? Can you help me? I think as human beings, one of the other weaknesses we have for most of us, we are afraid to ask.
That's true. Especially entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yes, you got to be careful who you ask. But in BNI, people are very happy because if you are specific, they'll be more than wanting to help you.
I like that. Ask and you shall receive, right?
Don't demand, but ask.
Don't demand, but ask. But of course, earn their respect first, right?
Absolutely.
Establish that relationship.
Yeah.
Paint for us now, BJ, the framework. How does this whole team succeed? What are the frameworks? What are the things that people do that make this system so successful?
Good question. So, we have these meetings that take place every week. And there's a structure on those meetings. And all of that has been thought through. It's not just something that happens by chance. So the first thing is, how often should we meet? Like I said, with all the experience and all the mistakes that we've made, and we've even written a book around it, weekly is good. You probably don't meet your best friend every week. And here we are, turning up every week. So what it does, it keeps us visible.
Yeah.
And then in that meeting, there's a structure. So the purpose of each of these meetings is to show our commitment to each other, to show we are accountable, to connect with each other. Visitors come to those meetings so we can showcase what we do and then report in. So there are two things that happen at these meetings. One is all the members get up and do what we call their weekly presentations. And the purpose of that is for them to educate their fellow members, remind them, and then the opportunity to ask. Because your needs change, right? This week you may say, right, guys, this is what we do. We've introduced a new product and we'd like to, get introductions for that. A month later, there could be a different flavor, different season, depending on your business. So it's keeping your fellow members updated and then also being specific. So that happens every week. And then reporting in. Accountability, that's one of our core values. So this week, I would in the course of the week have come across opportunities and referred business, but I need everybody else to know what I'm doing. So as a team, we kind of tell each other, right, this is the way we work, this is how we do things. So that's happened in a nutshell. There is education. So, little nuggets being shared on a weekly basis on how you can become better.
Yeah.
So that's really what the structure is.
Definitely. I think apart from being able to generate referrals and, network with well-meaning people, I was telling you this earlier, I feel like there's a positive pressure because you are accountable, so you need to show up. And I appreciate that being an entrepreneur because sometimes you feel like you're talking to yourself, but here you are, you've got the team driving you forward, so everybody has to move. That's a great thing.
It's the analogy is, for example, if you take fitness and being a member in the gym, just by becoming a member does not get you the results. You then need to be there. You need to use the tools.
Definitely.
You need to engage, and then that'll bring the results. And it takes time as well.
Definitely. Some good examples of success stories. I'm sure you have a lot of those.
There are loads, and there are so many out there which I come to know much later. There are tons of success stories, and different kinds of success stories. So the common ones would be where through this people landed some amazing business opportunities. But I'll share a couple which for the listeners that they might sound interesting. Sometimes we underestimate who knows who. We kind of associate people. We say, he's just based on maybe their experience or their position. We underestimate who they have access to. The classic one I want to share is take somebody in real estate. And real estate is big in Dubai, right? I remember many years back, we had a developer who was a member. Now, for them, referrals are people, investors who are looking at big projects, whole tower and stuff like that, right? So not everybody's going to get a referral for one of those towers every week. If anything, you might get one or two a year. But he would go in every week. He would remind people what they do and what is the latest project they're working on, and he would do one-to-ones. There was a dentist in the chapter. Now, everybody thinks a dentist, right? But think about it, really. A dentist has access to all sorts of people. Who are the patients that go into a dentist? You get all sorts of people, right? And when a dentist it's not a one-off. You have a relationship with the dentist.
That's true.
And if they're going to do some work on you, they're going to put you on that couch. And you're going to be there for maybe 2 or 3 hours. So a smart dentist can even get into conversation with you. So it just so happened that this particular dentist, and again, it's about being at the right place, right time. But just think about this. There was an investor from Spain who was visiting Dubai. He developed an ache which required, what do they call it? One of these tooth procedures. And it was an emergency. He needed to see a dentist, ended up with this dentist. So naturally the dentist asked, so where are you from? And he said, well, I'm actually in town. This is what I'm here for. I'm here for a few days. Oh, what brings you to town? Well, we're looking at some projects. What sort of projects? Next thing you know, in the following week, the dentist has referred this investor to the developer. And a month or two later, the developer stands up and shares. He said, you know what? That person you referred us to? And they declared a thank you for close business of like 150 million dirhams.
Wow.
Now, it's an extreme case I'm sharing, but imagine things like that happening.
Amazing.
Right?
Thank you for close business of 100 million dirhams. I'm going to have a one-to-one. Naima Al-Bawani, if you're listening right now, you're the dentist of our chapter. I'm going to be having a one-to-one with you on Monday.
But it's about recall.
Exactly.
What happens is, do you have to be the best at what you do? Not necessarily. You've got to be good at what you do. But now think about it. Compare yourself to somebody, your competitor, who might be better than you maybe, or equally as good. The difference is you are turning up to a meeting every week. You got a group of 50 or 60 other people who are listening to you. And when they're out and about and they see an opportunity, the first person they're going to think about, if it's a dentist, it'll be the dentist in the chapter. If it's a branding consultant, it's going to be, the person in their chapter. Whereas they're not going to look out and they don't have time to say, okay, now who's the best? Let me find out. And so it's about recall.
Definitely. And you have a relationship with those people.
Absolutely.
As the National Director of BNI in the UAE, BJ, what can we look forward to in the future? What other plans do you have moving forward?
Thank you for asking that, Lalaine. We like I said, we're just celebrating our milestone of 1,000 members. What we've seen over the years, Lalaine, is the bigger the community, the better for everybody. Because it's a community which shares common values. So as much as, there are about, depending on which chapter it is, our largest chapter is 90 members, the smaller ones maybe about 25. So the strength lies in chapters, but Dubai is still small. Lots of business happening across. And the bigger the community, when you have people of the same, what happens is everybody wearing this BNI pin, I personally now, I don't know all the members, but I go out and about, I'll be walking in the mall, I meet somebody, they see this pin, and the fact that they recognize and identify you as a fellow BNI member, it's a whole barrier down and the conversation changes.
Definitely.
So imagine having a community of people who share the same values. The way you're able to then talk about, and imagine now you're surrounded more and more givers. So our aspiration is if we could have a community of at least 2,000 givers. In fact, our goal in the next 3 years is, to be 2025. In fact, our vision statement is 2025 members by 2025.
That's very exciting.
And that's when we're going to be celebrating our 20 years in the UAE. And I think there are enough business people who deserve to be part of this.
Definitely. You might be surprised. It might grow even bigger than that.
Why? Even better. Why not?
Possibilities are endless.
Absolutely.
Well, before we wrap this up, now I want life advice from you, BJ. You've seen a lot. You've helped a lot of entrepreneurs. What's the one thing that Bijay Shah would say to an entrepreneur who's really excited to grow into the future? What's the one piece of life advice there?
It's a long-term game. There's nothing like a quick buck. The secret to success, it is work. Yes, you got to be smart about it. But I would say relationship building, that's key. And building relationships takes time. The other thing, especially when it comes to networking, because people associate us, we are a networking organization. Networking is not just meeting new people. It's not, when people associate networking, they think, right. And for a lot of people, including myself, I'm actually an introvert.
Same as me. Extroverted introvert, even if we don't look like that.
You call it an extroverted introvert?
Exactly.
I call myself a situational extrovert. But the same thing.
Same thing.
We got to do what we got to do. But a lot of people, would be extroverts out there. So the moment you mention, hey, you got to go out there and meet people, they're not comfortable. But networking is not about that. Networking is about relationships. So I would say to anybody, before you even go out there, especially if they're not comfortable, before you go out there and start meeting new people, look at people in your existing network. All of us have that. People at work, family, friends, people. If you look at basically who's in your network, the first step is look at your phone list. These are the people, the fact that you have them on your phone as a saved contact means there is some connection. If you call them, they're going to recognize you. Even if it was the only once that you spoke to them, if you mention, where we met or whatever, this is a network. See if you can deepen that network. And it starts by asking them, hey, how are things? How is life? Taking an interest, asking questions, and then seeing how you can help them. And if you do enough of that with enough people, naturally you'll start connecting the dots, and then you become what we call a master connector.
That's an amazing message. Any last few words for our audience?
So like I said, Givers Gain works. It's never too late. There's a proverb out there, the best time to plant an oak tree was probably hundreds of years ago, but the next best time is today. So it's never too late, no matter where you are, no matter phase. It's not just about business, it's about so many other things, right?
Definitely.
Jobs and everything else. And something that I have learned, and this is something that I apply, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt.
Wow, that's so
But
deep.
think about it, right?
It is, yeah.
It's not about how much you know. That's just one part of it. But once you really show and demonstrate you care about others, then they can actually follow what you want, and work as a team.
That's amazing. And on that note, thank you so much for your time.
Most welcome. Thank you so much.
This was very inspiring. We look forward to an even bigger BNI in the UAE. Everybody's benefiting from it. So we will do our best to help out. And thank you so much, BJ.
Thank you so much, Lalaine. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Super. And to our audience out there, to our listeners, please learn, watch and learn. Go out there, build relationships, and please help other people, because your success is prefaced on how many people you will help out and serve. And if you want to know more about BNI, I'm going to put the link in this post. Please do join us. Come to one of our meetings and see what's happening out there. There's a lot of good things. So please join us. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Please subscribe to our channel and share our content. For more actionable insights on brand and business building, follow us on our agency's social media pages or subscribe to our newsletter via our website, www.illustrado.co.